In this episode, we're going to talk about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is something that we do so naturally, and I believe it's because society has programmed us to believe that there is always a better version of ourselves out there. And we have so many examples of what beauty or athletes or intelligence looks like other than ourselves. So we end up beating ourselves up for being somebody that we're not. And I mean, to me, like in my life, I guess I kind of did the same thing. I was not somebody that I wanted to be, so I hid using drug addiction. And I think of the youth, like think of the kids, think of beauty. Like beauty is being delivered to us from a narrative that is somebody else's idea of what beauty is. We are not taught to understand and arrive at what beauty means to us. And I want to talk about that because I feel like a lot of what we don't like about ourselves is this external vessel. And the external vessel is just a vessel. You don't want to beat yourself up for not looking like a photoshopped image out of a magazine or a celebrity that has had thousands and thousands of dollars of work to look a certain way. Because inside of that human or inside of yourself is where true beauty lies. I mean, if people know your value because you know your value, then they get to see you for the same worth that you set for yourself. I mean, that's priceless, right? To understand that concept, to see yourself as the magical being that you are because of what you possess on the inside. Character traits like being trustworthy, being kind, being compassionate, being empathetic. I mean, these are things that are far more valuable than a bank account or an hourglass body. For me, I spent 23 years of my life as a drug addict. I was very often highly underweight. My cheeks were so sunk in all the time for most of my life that I never even noticed myself. It was very difficult for me to look at myself in the mirror because of what I was doing to myself. I was self-sabotaging myself because I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was on the inside because I didn't know how to talk about it. So I hurt myself externally by using substances externally for me because I knew how to do that. Because there wasn't teachers and guides around me that were teaching me how to talk about how I feel or educating me on the fact that how I look like on the outside doesn't even matter. I mean, if anything, it's just a way for people to see that there's something going on with you. And I share about that because the world today is just a very interesting place with us trying to be somebody that we're not. And I think that we're being led in this direction, that it's okay to pretend to be somebody you're not. And I can tell you I did that for a long time. And we have many examples of other human beings that do this as well. But it doesn't get you anywhere. Because at the end of the day, you're always putting energy into trying to pretend that everything's okay. You become tired. When you're tired, you don't want to work on yourself because you just spend all day trying to work on this other image of you that isn't true. So it's comfortable at night to just do nothing or, beat yourself up for who you're not because you spent the whole day trying to sell people on another version of yourself. I mean, I did the same thing. It doesn't really matter how that looks for you in your life, whether it's with addiction or just pretending to be somebody you're not, or, overeating or being glued to social media or whatever it may be. Plugged into social media, trying to be somebody you're not is very, very common. I mean, how much time do people spend trying to take that perfect shot or put themselves in an area where people are going to think that their life is just this magical place because of these photos they've taken, when really on the inside they're just starving to be seen and heard and process emotions and communicate those with somebody else to be real. I mean, just to be real. That has been the greatest gift that I have received by giving it to myself and really loving all of the aspects of myself. Now, mine wasn't so much about my personal image. It was more about my past. I'd made so many mistakes along the way that I just beat myself up for all of those mistakes. And I didn't ever allow myself to see another way out because I held myself in the misery of the pain of experiences that have already happened or consequences of choices that I made that have already happened. So rather than process that and try and see those choices as education or another way, I buried myself within the depression, anxiety, and the stress of the choices that I made. And I think that that's a really common thing that we do. I mean, I believe this is why anxiety is practiced so much these days, because you focus on it, you know? Anxiety is just a point of reference for fear. And whether it's the fear to be seen or be heard or be yourself, it's all the result of fear, you know, to be judged by others, whatever it may be. But that is the result of ego, right? Fear is a part of ego. And if we understand our ego that's trying to tell us that we're not good enough, then we have a choice to be able to say, you know what? No, I am good enough. I am good enough. I do like these parts of me. I do like when I say something and I sound like an idiot. I'm going to say that like that because it's the truth. You know, I mean, how many of us beat ourselves up or we don't even speak because we said something stupid sometime? And, you know, we feel people only remember us for that stupid thing we said. Rather than beat yourself up for that stupid thing you said that one time, just get better and keep saying those stupid things until the thing you want to say comes out so naturally. Because there's 8 billion people on the planet. And it doesn't matter if you make a mistake trying to be your true authentic self in this life. It absolutely does not matter if you are making mistakes to achieve that human being coming to the face of the planet and showing yourself for the true beauty and magic that you are. But we have hid from being who we are for far too long. I mean, far too long. We have practiced not speaking our truth for far too long. That we do beat ourselves up over saying something dumb in front of people because saying what we want to say doesn't come so naturally. And then we take that home with us and we beat ourselves up over that. You know? I mean, this is just an awareness to bring you into the present moment, because the present moment is the only thing that matters. And I mean, I know what it's like to live in the past. I know. I use that as an excuse to not grow for far too long. But I broke free. And I did it by living in the present moment and seeing my past as education. And that ability to see every experience, every mistake as an opportunity to grow into a better version of yourself is the key. That's the key to move forward in life. You don't have to hold yourself back because nobody's holding you back. That's the thing. No one's putting boundaries on you but you. I came up from, homeless, being drug addict like 4 years ago, right? And sure, I have things materialistically today, yeah, because I work my butt off for them. But the work that goes on in the inside of me is never ending. And I give it an immense amount of attention. And to do that, I knew that I had to remove all of the distractions from me. Obviously, alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, mushrooms, all these things that I found acceptable. Obviously, I removed all of the extremely challenging drugs such as cocaine and fentanyl and heroin. I overcame that part of myself, but I still wasn't sure who I was. And I think that we beat ourselves up so bad because we aren't sure of who we are, and I did the same thing. So I knew I really wanted to connect with the person that I was because I love myself. I did. I love myself. I was making mistakes every single day, but I loved the person I was. And I knew that I was making an impact because I could see some kind of beauty inside of myself that I loved. And you don't have to have that right in the forefront of your mind to know that it's there, because I know if your heart's beating, you know that there's love within you, because that heart is always teaching you that there is a heartbeat of love within you. And you are creating that with the energy that you have inside of you. So never think that you don't have any love, because you do. We just don't know how to connect back to it. So I want to just plant that seed in your mind to remind you that you don't have to have it all figured out. But to go on the journey within, you are going to try new things. And you are going to make mistakes, and you are going to have new experiences, and you are going to sound like an idiot sometimes. and that's totally okay to do. It's going to be a part of it. And once you appreciate that, you are going to see like, this is amazing. Because if the people you are around are judging you for this new person or this old person that you're trying to get in touch with and you're trying to bring out into the world again, then those people aren't for you. And that's okay, because becoming yourself And, really stopping this whole practice of self-sabotage means that the people that have accepted your self-sabotage or this version of you that's hid from being their true authentic self will probably go away. And it happened in my life. Everybody that I knew went away. I mean, that wasn't very difficult when I came out of being homeless, but there was still individuals that came into my path along my journey. And as I was growing, I knew that I just was going somewhere else. And it was okay to let that relationship go because I really wanted to give myself everything that I deserved in this life. And that was just an opportunity to be my true authentic self. And I think that, that's quite the destination to achieve, is just to be authentic these days. Because if you're authentic, that means you get to be real. And when you're real, there's no anxiety. There's no judgment because you don't judge yourself anymore. You're cool with all the facets that you came back into this world with because you realize that the greatest thing you possess is found within. You know what I mean? And I really, if people aren't telling you that, I want to be the person to tell you that because no one was telling me that either. But I've decided to use my life as an experiment and offer the rewards of my results to you, of the things that I practice. And it's super important to know that you are going to make so many mistakes along this journey. But anything you practice, you get good at. So let's take, for example, being stuck inside of a routine to self-sabotage. To look at ourselves and to constantly think that everything that we see externally from us is nothing that we want. You don't like your fingers, you don't like your hair, you don't like your eyes, you don't like your mouth, you don't like your legs, you don't like your feet, you don't like your toes. I have heard many people talk about these things that they don't like about themselves because somebody else has planted an idea of beauty inside their mind and they can't see beauty in the vessel that they have come back into this planet with. But let me tell you, if you're stuck inside of that way of seeing yourself, how are you ever going to fall in love with the parts you don't like if you don't give it an opportunity to see it as such? It's a way to break the programming. And the only one that can break that programming is you. So it's difficult, of course. I mean, you haven't practiced it. It's going to be really difficult for sure. But we know what self-sabotage does. It's not good for our emotional, our mental, our physical well-being. And if you keep hoping that something's going to change, just something magical is going to change, let me tell you, nothing's going to change. Definition of insanity is waking up every single day doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That is insane to think about that way because action is the greatest teacher in this life. But we're so afraid to take action because we're so afraid to make a mistake. I don't want you to be afraid to make mistakes in this life. School tries to teach us that if we make mistakes, we're dumb. Or we're going to be held back because we don't understand something. So now we're too afraid to understand anything because we don't want to make a mistake because we've been programmed at a very young age to believe that philosophy. It's completely incorrect. The education system makes employees. We know that. And not even very good ones. Very compartmentalized learning. But the education that goes into learning about yourself is so personal. And I believe it should be. Of course, in community and group settings, we grow exponentially, and there is a time for that, absolutely. But the personal relationship you make with yourself to make a decision to learn to grow within is something you have to do on your own first. And that way you appreciate it, because it's not easy to crack that mindset. And it wasn't for me either. I mean, the statistic they give me was 0.01% of people come out of the situation that I was in within the psychological behaviors and patterns created by addiction. Actually, I'm proud of that, I am. And I'll admit that. I'm actually very proud of that. I guess I really don't address that often, because I believe anyone can do it. And I think that number, to me, some people look at it and they say, oh, wow, man, only 0.01% of people can make it. I'm not going to make it. It's no, that number should show you that people do make it, that you can too. That way we can grow that number. Now, that was just for my situation, but, the detriments of addiction is just complete self-sabotage on a constant basis. Of course, the outlet using, heroin, fentanyl, or coke, or whatever you're doing, marijuana, it doesn't matter. Of course, the outlet is different from those that pretend in their life that everything's okay and try and sell other people on a facade. Sure. With addiction, you just accept that you don't care if other people know that your life has become unmanageable. And, I kind of think that the pretending in life is a whole lot worse, to be honest with you. Because at least when you're physically visible as not having it all together, I don't know, it's even become taboo to talk about that these days, right? I mean, we have how many examples of individuals who are clearly in a mental state that requires a community to step in and really offer some guidance through conversation and shared experience and lived experience. And we shy away from that. And I don't shy away from that because I see the value in talking about it. And I realize that it doesn't matter to me if anyone judges me for the journey that I had in my life. And I'm actually super grateful for it because it allows me to communicate about it on so many different levels. Like experiencing the journey that I did for 23 years in that very difficult time just taught me an immense amount of psychology, that can be associated in so many different forms. Not just addiction. I mean, mental health is something we create. Not in all cases. There's definitely chemical imbalances. I'm not going to take away from that. But certainly, mental health is something that we practice, because we're not talking about how we feel. So we store that energy within us. Those unprocessed emotions become dense energy. And we don't do anything with it. So it just wears us down and breaks us down, eventually slows us down. And then we start reaching for things because we're like, holy, like now I don't feel well. Now, you know what I mean? Like beating yourself up has become such a practice that now you need something to distract from that. So you're like, if I can just remove myself from all this, I'll reach for these substances and they'll help me focus on something else. So that's kind of how it can transpire, really. I feel like at this point in time, at this stage that we've all come back to, I mean, it's very difficult. We're being led to believe that we're so different from each other. And I love the things that I talk about because everything that matters within, right? So it doesn't matter if you're from Ukraine or you're from Russia or you're from Australia or if you're from Japan, England, Mexico. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what religion you practice. Because who we are on the inside as an individual is part of a collective consciousness. We are a part of a collective, but we've just been led to believe that we're so different from each other. Because we come into this life, you're given a name, you're given a bunch of learned behaviors by two individuals who may or may not wanted to have brought you into this world and may or may not be parents that have an understanding of parenting and may or may not have an understanding of what love is. So now you have lived most of your life under that parameter. They chuck you into an education system where financial systems are dictating what is cool and what isn't. So if you have money, you're going to belong into this group. If you're better looking by society's idea of what beauty is, you're going to belong to this group. If you like science and if, on and on and on, we're divided into groups at a very young age. So we've broken away from each other based on labels given to us by other people. I don't do that. I saw all of that for what it was. And I think it's ridiculous. And I think many of us think it's ridiculous. And if you're still under the impression that somebody that is of another color or another language, another race, another religion is different from you, somebody's taught you that. Or maybe you've been hurt in a manner that you haven't processed that experience to see that individual as an actual human being, the body of light for what it is on the inside. And I can appreciate that. I mean, we're all at our own place in time. But I would also heavily encourage you to see each other for who we are and what we are, what we possess on the inside. We're not always encouraged to live from that reference point. It's more so you got to follow a narrative led by someone else. And you've got to figure out what you want to do before you know who you are. I mean, how much anxiety and stress does that cause? Doing something for the rest of your life where, a company puts a value on you when you know you're more than that. And I get that. And that's what happens when we pretend to be somebody we're not. That's where all of this can lead us, is making choices that aren't good for us, and then we have to live in the consequence. But let me tell you something. I was 36 when I got out of jail homeless, and I'm 40 today, and I've done so much within that 4 years. And it wasn't easy. Of course it wasn't easy, but I put time into it because I seen results, because I just had enough, really. I had enough. I had enough of just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And you know what? That thing was a lesson that I was trying to learn. And I believe all of us are trying to learn this lesson of love, because love is a very powerful energy in this universe. We're just not taught how to use it. And we're definitely not taught that we possess it, that we don't need to get it from anybody. It's something we have inside of us. Now, you can ask for it to come back into your life because you feel like you've lost it. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter who you ask or what you ask. You just speak those words out into the universe and you ask for love to come back into your life. It'll listen. It'll hear you, because those vibrational frequencies are tuned into a different frequency. And that's what love is. Love is a frequency. You have this power to do that. Never think that you don't. You're just not taught how to believe in that, because that would mean we're going to believe in ourselves, in what we're capable of. And when you're looking at self-sabotage, that's certainly what it is. It's an inability to believe in oneself. And you know what? I came out of a situation where obviously all of society was saying, 0.01%, buddy, like you've got no chance in this life, a very, very minimal one. And I looked at it and was like, you know what? You don't understand the power of when I believe in myself, or when any of us do, because those 0.01% of people that do that are the ones that do believe in that. But there's a movement happening right now. So you don't have to look at that number as anything other than you can be one of those people too. And I want you to know that, if no one's telling you that, I'm telling you that. We need more communities like this, and I get that. And that's why I do this podcast, is so that we can grow more into this understanding of evolution of self. It's not about an evolution of technology external from us. None of that matters. It's actually been highly detrimental for human beings. Think of the birth of the cell phone. Yeah, of course, it's a tool and we can use it for sure to make money or as a tool of distraction. Absolutely, I get it. We can see loved ones that we don't see that often. Okay, but the algorithms and the way it's been designed is highly addictive, and it's highly detrimental to our personal growth if we don't have education and responsibility surrounding how to use it. Now, I feel that removing those distractions from your life, or limiting yourself from them when you're going on a journey within, is imperative. Alcohol is a depressant. If you're serious about this whole thing, remove it from your life. It's not serving you. It's not doing anything but holding you in one place. But you have the power to move away from that because you want to try something new. And I get that that's a difficult place to be, trying something new. We're so fearful of the unknown. But I want you to get excited about the unknown, because you already know that it's okay to make mistakes. So by having that understanding that it's okay to make mistakes, you're going to do this thing, because you know that every mistake you make is going to bring you closer to your destination. And that destination is your true authentic self. And I'll tell you, you'll probably quit that job that you're doing that you don't love, because you'll know your value, you'll know your worth. And you know what? Because you display authenticity, someone else is going to see you for your value and your worth. And you're going to have friends and be in circles and be surrounded by people that see your value and your worth as well, because you are an authentic human being who does things from a place of love, because you've become a student of love to learn about yourself. Just like asking love into your life, you have this power. Words are such a beautiful thing. And when we're talking about self-sabotage, I want you to understand that if you're focused on telling yourself that you are not good enough, that you are ugly, that there's lots of you don't like, it's going to maintain your reality. But if you use these words of love, of kindness, of compassion, and you tell yourself, you look at yourself after 20-something years of telling yourself you weren't good enough, that you are good enough, things are going to change. Because the vibrational frequency that you carry within yourself is going to change. Even if you don't fully believe it, you tell yourself that every day because you're practicing something new. And that's very important. You have that ability to do that. And it's time we start doing that. That's why I'm having this conversation right now. It's time we start doing that. No one's going to come in and save you, man. Like, you got to do it on your own. And it's important to do it on your own because you value the results, right? Just remember that you have the ability and the power to do that. And energy is a power. You know, we power houses these days with hydro, and we think that that's what energy is. But no, there's something so beautiful in this universe that lives within us, and it's called love. And it's a wonderful gift that we've all been given but disconnected from. So I'm trying to lead you back home, you know, within yourself. Because I know what it's like to be lost on the journey. I know. I've been there. And it's very lonely. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way, because love is something that we all have. And when we start coming together and we start understanding this energy of love within a group of individuals or a consciousness of individuals, all of this is going to change. So practice, please. Please put value, time, and energy into yourself, because you're worth it. So we can change this thing. I mean, you know, I don't really want to rely on establishments to change it, because, well, look how that's going, you know? So to change the world, all we have to do is change ourselves and the way we see the world. And the way we see the world is how we think, and how we think is how we feel. So you have the power to choose how you want to think and how you want to feel about yourself. And all of your reality will change. So please message me if you are serious about this, you know, because I'm very serious in my life about evolution. And I've, you know, offered my life as a way to help people through whatever. You don't have to be an addict, you know, you just have to be somebody who's sick and tired of not moving forward, you know, and really wanting to understand what this thing called love is and what it can do. You know, like how can this guy, me, have these things and, you know, talk this way? It's because of love, and that's the truth. And I have lots of love in my life today, and I'm so grateful, and I'm, you know, so grateful for nature every day that it can. I'm just here, you know, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to be here. And at this time, I'm so grateful I came back for this time, because it's so hard. And I love difficult things in life because they teach us the greatest lessons. You know, that kind of education stays in the soul, and you grow, you evolve when you go home. So I'll leave you with that. I appreciate you for your practice. I appreciate you for being here and for coming back at this time. Like, thank you very much. I know how hard it is. I know the agenda and this idea of life that's been laid out for all of us is absolutely ridiculous. And I know you know that too. And I'm grateful for you to begin to remember something, you know, remember what this is all about, and remember why we came here. We came here to evolve together. It's just so magical. It's so real. I can't express that to you enough, how real it is. You just got to get out there and make some mistakes and try some new things and let go of all the external that, you know, we've been led to believe is good for us or comfortable and convenient, you know. Get rid of all that stuff and start to struggle a little bit. My social media is Real Talk for an Unreal World. That's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, it's on Spotify. It's on all podcast platforms, and TikTok. And basically what I do with the social media is I just cut it all up, and then I put it into some clips throughout the week and just give you something to think about, and, you know, or a little reminder. It's a way to distribute content, I guess. I'm not the greatest at it. I've been better, to be honest with you. I've been better, but like, I just find, like, as soon as I open up these tools, like social media tools, like, they're built to pull you in, and I don't like it. Like, I don't like falling into that. I just feel like just wasted time after I come out of it. So, but I know a lot of people use it, so that's why I do it. So forgive me if I suck at it, but that's why I suck at it, because I don't like doing it. And I don't put much of my life up there. I'm being a little better at letting people into my life because it's my personal life, right? Like, I don't like to go out and travel. And again, I guess forgive me for 3 weeks of absence, or 4 weeks, I'm not sure. I was in Mexico for a little while with my wife and her family. And, you know, I mean, that's personal to me, man. Like, I work hard to live. You know, I'm just so present. I love to be in the moment. I don't love taking pictures of everything to try and show people what I'm doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what I show you what I do with my life. This is where you get me. This is me. You know what I mean? Like, on these podcasts. I get to be myself. But what I do out in the world is I just connect with people and I love people and I'm so present in the moment. And that's for me and the people I meet or me in the places that I go. So I would encourage you to do the same. You know what I mean? Like, that's just so important to be present. Like, go back to the way things were. It was just so much less stressful, and it's so much more beautiful because you're in the moment like that. I love that. My wife's better at taking pictures and then I just post them. So we have a wonderful relationship like that. That works out very well for me. So I can do it like that. I have a Twitter, Real Talk the number 4 Unreal. Sometimes I'm good at putting quotes up. Sometimes I could care less. I just think that whole thing is ridiculous. Like, it's just like a tool of networking. Like, people figure out a way to get people to like look at their stuff. Like, they'll ask the most ridiculous question with an open-ended answer, but there's millions of people doing the same thing. I'm like, are you serious? Like, can you not be a little more original? And they just do it so they can have some sort of gratification of being seen and being heard. And it's like, you don't even know these people. They don't even care. You know what I mean? They're answering a question on a social media tool. Like, I mean, go connect with people and impact people in a way that you're both going to exchange energy and experience, and you take something away from each other. Like, just putting up, an open-ended answer or whatever you're trying to do, clickbait, things like this, just to get people to, comment on your thread is so waste of time. Like, I don't know. Are people just led to believe like that's cool? Like, to have people look at nonsense? I don't know. Like, people don't even care about the questions they ask. You can tell because they're doing it 2 or 3 times a day. And sometimes they're just saying things to just get people to react. It's like, what a waste of time. Like, you're just messing with people's emotions, I guess. I don't know. That's my thoughts on that. I think it's important to talk about that because I would love to lead you away from that. Like, go network in the real world, man. Go sit in a coffee shop and try and talk to everybody in there. You know what I mean? Even if they think you're weird. Remember, 8 billion people on the planet. Doesn't matter. You are learning about yourself. So do that. Not in a creepy way, but, or being, don't be creepy, but... and everyone knows what creepy is. So, like, come on. There's definitely, ways of doing things. But you got to make mistakes. So maybe you don't know what creepy is, and you've got to make mistakes in order to know, like, okay, this is not working at all. I don't know. We're all on this journey, right? So, for sure. I mean, there's people that don't know that. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm like, yeah, there's probably people that don't know that. Especially how divided we are these days, right? I mean, some people don't talk to people for a month and they live in the city. Can you imagine? Easy to do though, you get lost in these social media tools and block the world out. Maybe you just don't want to connect with the world, but they don't want to connect with anything. They're not connecting with themselves. They're not connecting with nature. They're not connecting with animals. It's like, hey guys, like, what are you doing? Like, and I've been there. Like, I know it. So it's tough that way. It's tough that way of life. Yeah, people walk by me on the street all the time. Now that I think about it. Till I needed money and I had to ask people for money. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, my email. My email is realtalkforanunrealworld@gmail.com. And you can email me with anything, Just let me know what's up. Let me know if you need help. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Let me know what you think of the episode. I don't know. Just let me know you want to grow. Please. I love that. I love knowing that, actually. And people have sent me some wonderful emails, which I really love. So I appreciate you for that. So thank you for listening to this episode. I hope it helped. And I feel really good to be back. And I feel like I'm putting some work into some new things. So we're going to have some new stuff coming up pretty soon. So much love. Thanks for being here.